I have a note here that I've already forgotten what this was about, so I can't talk about it. I guess when I wrote it, I thought this would be adequate information that I could recall. It says, Israelis will be paying people. That's the entire note of a topic. What the fuck does that mean? I mean, yeah, they will be. Israelis do be paying people, but what did I mean by that? What did I want to talk about? I don't know. Oh, I know what it was. I remember now. It came to me. The Israelis do be paying people, but this is specifically what I wanted to talk about, is something in regards to October 7th and the hostages in Gaza. So as you well know, Israel had a whole lot of trouble trying to substantiate the Hamas mass rape on October 7th narrative that they crafted after October 7th. They could not find any evidence. There's literally zero forensic evidence that anything happened. You know, witnesses came forward with ridiculous stories that were just plainly made up, that were discredited, zero corroboration by anything else. They claim that there was literal, mass rape. For some reason, these Palestinian fighters who were actively also fighting armed settlers and IDF troops and such just stopped to commit sexual assault constantly for some reason. Who knows why? In the middle of, an intense battle. Who knows why? On a mass scale. And yet also, there's literally zero forensic evidence that this ever happened. Not one body, not one, posthumous rape kit, which is something they can do, by the way. Not one name of a supposed victim, not one anything. And what has been happening now, since then, is there's this massive incentive in Israeli society to lie about this, right? Because they've been fucking desperate for something to back this up. And, over the years, there's been a campaign for the last 10 years or so, to believe people when they say they've been assaulted, which is all well and good, but it's being weaponized by Israel here, basically to mean believe transparently made up bullshit by Israelis who are likely getting paid to lie and pretend to have been witnesses to something for which there is literally zero other evidence, or pretend to be victims of something for which there's literally zero other evidence. And you can tell it's fucking bullshit because the Israelis are totally desperate for something that they believe manufactures consent for their genocide, right? That's why they came up with this mass rape narrative in the first place. It's a typical, colonial genocide justification narrative. These disgusting native savages are taking our women. That's why we have to kill them all, It's the exact same thing that American settlers use, that Australian settlers use, that settlers all throughout history have come up with to justify their genocides. So what they've been doing since then, and this is going to keep happening, is they have created this great incentive structure where if you come forward with a completely made up story of having witnessed some Hamas sexual assault, or even perhaps having been sexually assaulted by Hamas yourself, 2 fucking years after the fact, you've said nothing about it before, you finally come out and talk about this when there's literally nothing else corroborating it, absolutely nothing, no real evidence of it beyond your word. The Israeli media outlets will pay you for it. Obviously, they've been desperate for this shit. The way that the Israeli media outlets have been doing this for so long is they have just been making shit up. They have their anonymous testimonies. Here's an example from a genocidal Israeli propaganda newspaper, I-24 News. Witnesses detail widespread and systematic sexual assault on October 7th. No witnesses are named. The claim is that most victims of the sexual violence were permanently silenced after the attack, either because they were slain or due to trauma. So that's obviously bullshit, because obviously if someone is raped and then killed, there's physical evidence of that. You can prove it. And Israel captured the site of the supposed crimes afterwards. They had full access to the bodies, but instead they fucking just took them, most of them, and cremated them immediately. Interesting, right? There's no named witnesses here. They just claim we have, 2 years later, we have witnesses who tell us that this stuff happened. And you're just expected to fucking believe it. So they have full control of the site of the attacks, yet they have zero forensic evidence that they ever happened. And their excuse for this is that the victims were killed, when if a rape victim is killed, you can still get evidence that they were raped from an autopsy. So obviously that's not an excuse, doesn't make any sense. And then they say that all of the other witnesses just didn't want to speak out. They were scared. What were they scared of exactly? Who knows? It's not like they're living under Hamas. They live in fucking Israel. If anything, they are incentivized to speak out because they will be instantly turned into celebrities in Israel. They'll be paid for interviews. They might just straight up be paid by the government. They're going to get fucking rich off that. As if Israelis would ever hesitate to allege something like that. Give me a break. So what I meant when I wrote that in my little note, when I wrote Israelis will be paying people, is that Israelis will be paying people to fucking lie about this. And do not be fucking stupid, okay? Believe victims doesn't have to mean uncritically believe obvious transparent bullshit with clear genocidal secondary motivations, or primary motivations rather, just because you heard someone say the phrase believe women once. Exercise a little bit of fucking critical thinking. People can lie, okay? Israelis especially can lie, and very much do. They love to make shit up. They love to pay people to make shit up. They incentivize making shit up for their genocidal propaganda purposes. I don't think that believe women should ever mean uncritically believe something that someone says, present it to you with zero evidence when it has a clearly untoward primary purpose to manufacture consent for genocide. The reason why I want to talk about this is just to say, look out for this shit, because it's going to be happening. You know, Israelis are going to be paying people. They will be doing it. As I said in that incoherent note that I wrote, they're going to be paying people to lie about this. Like, for years and years and years, maybe even decades. I bet you 20 fucking years down the line, there's going to be someone who comes out like, explosive, never before heard report from October 7th survivor alleges having seen 15 Hamas militants committing never before heard of sexual acts against corpse or something. This is the sort of shit you're going to be hearing for years and years and years and years, okay? And do not let yourself be manipulated into believing it by them just because apparently you're just supposed to, by default, believe anything that a sexual assault victim says, or a claimed sexual assault victim says, rather, without even thinking about anything beyond just what they're saying. Like, why might this person be saying this? You know, is there a reason why, like, after years of having not fucking said anything, a random Israeli is coming out and making such a lofty and convenient claim like this, that the Israeli society and the Israeli government have been desperate to have these sorts of claims to corroborate their Hamas mass rape narrative that they've been using to justify genocide for years. So watch out for this, because it is going to happen. You know, this is going to happen even more assuredly than Zoran Mamdani touching the wall in the next 2 years, okay? And that is extremely assured. Your reaction when you hear this fucking bullshit, like zero corroboration, lofty claims of like mass sexual assault or some supposed like Hamas or Palestinian atrocity or whatever, just coming out years later with literally nothing to back it except the word of a genocidal Israeli who's obviously being given some sort of incentive to come out and say this. Your reaction should be laughter. You know, your reaction should be a default disbelief, the exact opposite of what they try to imply you should be feeling.